All right. Well, welcome everyone to the first 2026 version of Symbiota Support Group. We're excited to see you all, your familiar faces and or names. And today is pretty low key. We're just going to talk about what's coming up in 2025 and also give a recap of all of the accomplishments of 2026. If you went to the iDigBio webinar in December, then you might see some similar stats, but we're also going to talk about a couple of other things. Okay, in terms of announcements, just want to remind everyone that our Symbiota discussions has moved to a new community board, so you can find that on GitHub under Symbiota Community Board. I'll show you what that looks like. So if you go to Symbiota, the organization, we have a number of what are called repositories or repos, and one of them is called Community Board. This has kind of two main parts. One of them is our wish list. So this is for feature requests and such that are requested by the community. And we ask that if you have any particular feature requests, you can either talk about them in discussions or put them here. This is also a good place to kind of scroll through it at your leisure and see whether there are things that you agree with that you're like, oh, this would be really great if we could have this. I would like to be able to search by associated taxa. You can open that up and you can give it a little thumbs up, or you can add a comment saying, I agree that this would be really useful. And that will help us prioritize it as popular so that if there is development capacity later on, like as part of another project, then we might be able to kind of shoehorn that in and also get it done. So then in discussions over here, this is where you can either open your own forum or you can comment on things that other people have talked about. You can also put things on the wish list and then just leave it up to us to put them on the actual issues list, whatever works for you. And then if you have any problems or bugs, you can also mention them here too. And if it's more like a data problem, then we can reach out to you and help you with it. And if it is more of a code problem, then we can make sure that it gets on the main Symbiota repository where it will be addressed by our developers. So bugs, generally we have the capacity to fix because they're going to affect a lot of people. Okay, so some reminders for upcoming events and activities. We are still hoping that Symbiota 3.4 is going to be officially released this month. So in the meeting that I was just in earlier today, we have done a bunch of internal testing and there's still things that we need to button up before we're comfortable putting it into a beta testing community. So next week, hopefully, we are going to do some beta testing on one portal. I don't think we've identified which portal that's going to be, but you will hear about it if it is your portal. It will not be one of the large CERNEC, SciNet, Midwest portals. It'll likely be something like CCH2 or the Bryophyte portal. Um, and so they will do some beta testing for us, and then we'll close up all those bugs. And if there are not too many bugs, then we should be able to release the actual official 3.4 release by the end of the month. So stay tuned for our next Symbiota support group in February, where we will likely be talking about Symbiota 3.4 features that are going to be latest and greatest beyond what we talked about last meeting. Also a reminder that I'm going to be on family leave starting in February, so the help desk is going to be potentially a little bit slower, but Lindsay and Greg and Samantha, you are going to be taking care of the help desk, so y'all are in good hands. Just be patient if there are any slowdowns. Generally, February I don't think is too busy, so things turnaround should still be good. But that's also underscores, don't email me, always email the help desk. And most of y'all are good at doing that, but just if you don't hear from me, that's why. In March 2026, so March this year, we're going to be doing the Consortium of Northeastern Iberia portal campaign. So if you work in that portal, then you're going to get some extra love in March. In April, Ed Gilbert is going to be presenting at the Northeast Natural History Conference in Burlington, Vermont. So if you want to connect up with Ed Gilbert, then he will be there in Burlington. In May, we have a portal manager workshop here in San Luis Obispo, here at least where I am. And that's going to be a joining of folks who have been leaders in portals across the whole Symbiota portalscape. And we're going to really be talking about sustainability, community management, and just generally improving the Symbiota community experience and making sure that we keep our portals going. And then in August, there will be several of us attending the Botany Conference in Tucson, Arizona. And we will be helping to lead a colloquium called Updates from U.S. Herbarium Consortia. So that's going to be exciting. We'll be talking about what the portal communities and beyond are working on. And that's with help from more portal leaders. Okay, so today's topic is largely a 2025 recap, just kind of like a victory lap, as you may. And Lindsay, did you want to walk through the next slides or do you want me to?
Yeah, I can go through some of them, and also feel free to jump in if you like have something you want to add to it. So yeah,
Sounds
I'll
good.
I'll start us out. So yeah, just to kind of repeat what Katie said, this is a bit of a recap of last year and not just a celebration of our accomplishments, but just of like what the whole community has accomplished and like together. Definitely feels like we're all in this together and moving the Symbiota network together and forward. So here's just a brief overview in case you're curious of like the distribution of US-based collections in Symbiota portals. These dots all represent institutions or like collections that use Symbiota in different taxa, and it's just from some of our larger portals, but definitely is not representative of all of them. But kind of the bottom line here is that, the Symbiota Support Hub has been around supporting these portals since like September 2021. And over that time, our network has definitely grown and we're pretty much all across the US now. This doesn't even include our partners in Canada or other international partners beyond that. The network is growing constantly, and as you'll see in some of our slides coming up, how that breaks down in different ways. Next slide, please. So the Symbiota network is supported in part by the Symbiota Support Hub. And we say in part specifically because while we are kind of the main team that's developing the Symbiota code, we don't manage all of the Symbiota portals that are out there. There's actually like over 70 now, and we manage about 51 of them. And by manage, I mean we host them, we maintain them, and we facilitate them both technically and socially. But anybody could go out there and take the code and spin up their own portal. So there are others. And we do occasionally get requests from people in those other portals as well. And so of the portals that we host, maintain, and facilitate, those portals contain over 89 million occurrences as of the end of 2025, and those occurrences are associated with 43 million images. So some pretty big numbers there, and we'll take a closer look at how that kind of breaks down over time. So this represents just shy of 2,000 total collections that are using Symbiota portal or SSH hosted Symbiota portals to mobilize their data. We do kind of like to emphasize the live manage in particular because those are the collections that use Symbiota as their primary database of record. So the canonical data are in a Symbiota portal, and right now there are over 1,200 collections that live manage their data using Symbiota. I think since this slide was generated, it's probably more like over 1,250 just because we keep getting requests all the time. Every week, we get requests almost every single day. It feels like for collections to be added to Symbiota, definitely multiple times a week. And then, there's a good number of snapshots. So if you're not familiar with what snapshot means, those are collections that share like a static copy of their data. primarily manage their data somewhere that's not in Symbiota, but they still want to use Symbiota to disseminate the information. And so this all equals about 2,000 collections. And in 2025, there were just shy of 12 million user edits in our portals. And so what this means is if you are a registered user and you log into your portal and you make an edit to data, either as a data editor or a collections administrator, that edit got logged in the back end of the database of your database. And there were 12 million, almost 12 million of those in 2025. So lots of activity going on there. So here's a little bit a closer look at the data regarding number of collections in Symbiota portals over the last 4 years. So like I mentioned, the hub came to be in like I think September 1st, 2021 was our official start date with our funding from NSF. And so right when that started, there were 740 live managed collections in Symbiota. And as you can see now, there are well over 1,200. So that number in particular, we think is a really good indicator of just how active collections are in reaching out and just, they're continually trying to add their data to Symbiota. Snapshots do also reach out to us. Those numbers fluctuate a little bit just because sometimes snapshots change their mind or the portal goes offline, things like that. We also have significantly increased the number of collections publishing to GBIF collectively. So when the hub started, there were 190 collections publishing their data to GBIF, and now we're well over 500. And hopefully that number will continue to go up this year because we don't intend to stop that outreach. And so this again is just a little breakdown of the growth of the network in terms of number of collections served. Next slide. Okay, and so this chart looks similar, but this is not representing collections, but the occurrence data in the SSH Symbiota network. And so again, the number of live occurrences, so these are like specimen occurrences in a Symbiota portal that we host, has gone up by over 10 million. Like we're getting to like 12 million now. Snapshots have also increased, and overall, we've gone from 67.3 million occurrences up to nearly 90 million in at the end of 2025. Again, that number fluctuates just because sometimes portals go offline or like the portal management like changes hands, but overall, we're seeing an increase in number. And the same can be said for occurrences being sent to GBIF. That number has doubled since the hub came to be, and you all have continually actively been publishing your data either as part of a TCN or independently. And some activity also with respect to IDBio. Next slide. So I'll just go over this quickly. So I did mention that there are 43 million images associated with occurrences in Symbiota portals. That number has gone up a lot. A lot of that increase has come from snapshot activity because snapshots are a little bit easier to bring images in. There's less work associated with getting that data into the portals. But live managed images or images associated with live managed collections in Symbiota, that's been like 5 million images or more. So that's like, 5 million new instances of collections taking pictures of something and then uploading it to their portal. And that is the active specimen record for that collection. So that's really encouraging to see. Next slide. So we have a community of active users. And so something we started keeping track of after 2022, because we realized, hey, maybe we should be doing this, is just the number of people who are logging into portals over time. And so if you logged into a Symbiota portal as a registered user in 2025, you're included in that 5,800 number, which I think is kind of interesting and also just, again, reiterates like the activity of the collections community in terms of moving digitization forward, because as we all know, a lot of the TCNs, for example, are kind of finishing and wrapping up their work, but that doesn't seem to be reflecting any kind of decline in user activity. So that's pretty great. Next
Yeah, and
slide.
I'll also note that like this does not reflect users of portals necessarily because you don't have to be logged in to use a portal as like a data source. So those numbers are like in the tens of thousands according to the Google Analytics. This is just like actual human beings who have created a login and are probably making a checklist or an edit or something like that, but otherwise like need access to the things that are under the login. But just people who are like downloading data and stuff, like that's probably way bigger than this.
Yes, good clarification point. Thank you, Katie. So in terms of outreach, we plan to continue the Symbiota support group meeting series. We started this. The first one was in December 2021, and this meeting had its fourth birthday last month. It's been a very well attended series, and if you were to count like the number of individual instances of like somebody coming to one of these meetings, subtracting the Symbiota support hub, coincidentally, it's exactly 1,500 as of last month. I thought it was kind of funny. It came out to be a round number. But if you were to count individuals in terms of like unique attendees, so this would be whether you come to one Symbiota support hub or you've come to 20 of them, you're only counted once. We've had 468 individuals all time since 2021 come to this meeting. So lots of repeat attendance. At least a third of those individuals have come at least once, if not more. And so this is also an encouraging number. And I will add that this meeting is not just for collections managers and curators. If you have, research associates or volunteers or interns or students in your collection who might get something out of these meetings, please feel free to invite them. It is open to anybody who wants to attend. Feel free to forward our invites to them as you see fit. So pivoting a little bit, so as many of you know, and as Katie mentioned, we have a help desk which provides a lot of one-on-one support to the Symbiota user community. And in case you're kind of curious how this breaks down, so when you email help@symbiota.org, your email goes into a ticketing system. And since the beginning of our help desk, which I think officially started in like early 2022 and then moved on beyond that, we've answered over 6,000 tickets as of the end of December 2025. Those tickets correspond to usually many more than one message. So in 2025, we responded or like had back and forth. So 10,000 messages from Symbiota users. Again, this is a great metric of activity, community digitization activity. And some of those tickets are associated with tasks. So if you were to email us and say, hey, I need you to delete something out of the back end of the database, like that will turn into a task. And then it just helps us kind of route the task to whoever is actually able to do those things in the back end of the database. And so we do keep track of all that information. And kind of the overall story here is there's really no slowdown in interest in the help desk. So thank you all for, contacting us when you need help, and please keep those tickets coming. Something we do when we get tickets is we keep track of what portal that ticket is like generally associated with. In 2025, we had 9 portals where we received over 50 help desk tickets from somebody in that portal community. Um, this is not a bad thing. This is a good thing. So if your portal has sent us a lot of tickets, it's just an indication of like how active your portal community is. CCH2, congratulations. You have sent us the most tickets in 2025. We'll see what 2026 brings for CCH2. Maybe somebody else, some other portal will overtake that number. You never know. The orange ones, I will say, are all sign it. So if you were to add up all of the tickets from the orange bars, you would probably beat out CCH2, but those are all portals from Signet. And of course, many of those portals, both collectively and individually, are very active as well. In addition to the Lichens, Ecdysis, Cernek, Invertibase, the Bryophyte portal, and Midwest Herbaria and the Micro portal in 2025. But this is all to say, this is kind of how it breaks down in 2025. It might change next year. Again, this is just another like a way of looking at the same information. So this is just the beginning of last month, so this data is just slightly older. Most of our tickets, so over half of our tickets in 2025 came from 6 portal communities. So CCH2, Signet, Lichens, Ecdysis, Cernek, and Invert eBase were particularly active in 2025. That could totally fluctuate in 2026, though usually the numbers are relatively stable. And just so this is just to give you another like way of looking at this same information. So something I mentioned is that we've onboarded a lot of collections since the beginning of the Symbiota Support Hub. And so these numbers specifically come from our Join a Portal or metadata intake form. So we often will send individuals a link to a Google form when they're interested in joining Symbiota, and they'll fill out this like the metadata about their collections to get set up. And so this number generally represents the number of requests we have received to join Symbiota portals over time. I say generally because there's often some that just kind of fall through the cracks, or somebody will fill out the form once, but they're actually trying to join like three portals at once. So this is a bit of like an underestimate. But in 2025, we responded to 76 requests to join Symbiota portals. Most of those requests come from live managed collections, interestingly. And over time, so May 2022, when we started the form through December 2025, that represented it's over 250 requests because when I put this together, there were more that came in after that in the month. But there's really not been much of a slowdown there. And I had another one this morning. Actually, I think we had a couple this morning that came in from more collections that are interested in putting their data in Symbiota. So that's super exciting and a really interesting metric to track now that we have this much data about it. And then importantly, so the Symbiota code forms the backbone for all of these portals and the portal communities. And that code is dynamic and improving. Since the support up started, we've added more developers to our team. And in 2025 specifically, I think that was the first year ever where we had two major releases of the Symbiota code. So that was Symbiota 3.2 and Symbiota 3.3, which Katie will give a little recap on that in a moment. So hopefully, as Katie mentioned at the beginning of this, Symbiota 3.4 is not too far out in the future, and maybe we'll be able to hit this metric again in 2026. Fingers crossed.
And I will note, like, if you look at these bars, it kind of appears that our efforts have decreased. And unfortunately, that's just a side effect of we're actually getting a lot neater because the way that we are releasing things into the master branch or the main branch is we're packaging things up a little bit more nicely and then putting them into the code in these releases. So it looks like we have fewer contributions, but actually, if you did the sum total over all of the branches, it would be like a massive leap. So sad consequence of actually being better stewards of the code.
Katie, do you want to move forward on this one?
Yeah, yeah.
Great.
So we talked about this previously, but I just wanted to make another couple of reminders of like, hey, there have been some really big, impressive new features that we've been able to release into Symbiota code. This was in the release in 3.2, which was in March of 2025. So again, excited for 3.4. It's coming. And that includes support for audio files that was enabled this year, the ability to search by associations funded by the USDA. That's been a really nice collaboration. Support for cultivars and trade names. And in general, a lot of improvements to the user interface that have kind of been made just in small pieces. We're largely thanks to feedback from the USDA collections, so that's been nice. The Big B TCN helped us develop the ability to download image tags. And then we were also able to upload identifiers mapped to other catalog numbers so that we can populate those tables of additional identifiers that show up on your data editor or data entry pages a little bit better. And also some new improved downloading tools that are just going to continue to be improved in 3.4. So lots of functionality coming up there. Really rich data sets are going to be able to be downloaded from Symbiota portals very soon. Um, I think a recap of 2025 would be remiss if we did not talk about kind of a very important event that affected all of us, which was the July 2025 security breach. And though this was a very scary time and we lost a lot of productivity, we did not lose data and we actually gained a lot of code improvements and features toward the future sustainability of the Symbiota code in a rapid amount of time. So we released in those the end of July to the beginning of September, we released 4 hot fixes to the code. And what a hotfix is it's like a bunch of like really urgent changes that need to happen to the code, but and they need to happen sooner than new features need to be released. So we got four of those out in that short amount of time because we were rapidly discovering where the code was vulnerable, and we were rapidly deploying that or that code so that future instances of Symbiota would not be vulnerable in the same ways. And then, of course, Lindsay and I were the boots on the ground communicating with the community about the outage and progress. And again, we really thank you all for your patience as we work through that and are open to feedback about uh, what could we have done better. And then that all precipitated the move of getting everything from ASU servers over to KU servers, which we were planning to do, but we're going to do on a much slower, more measured timeline so that you wouldn't experience the portal performance issues that you all experienced in those several months. We're sorry for those, but seems like things have stabilized and they're only very seldomly being affected by things like denial of service attacks. So actually a lot of improvements to the performance have come out of the things we've learned through that migration. We set up a new image hosting solution at KU. That was a little bit arduous to get set up, but everything's working now through Globus. And again, we tuned those new servers for several months to ensure the performance was actually meeting the demand that you all had for those servers. So thanks again for your immense patience and support. You guys were awesome. Even though it was very frustrating for everyone involved, I feel like people were good-spirited and we really appreciated working with you all throughout that. Okay, so that's all we really have for our recap of 2025. And I'm just going to open it up to any questions about any of the things that we've discussed over the past few minutes. And then once there's no more questions about that, then I will stop the recording and you can ask any other random miscellaneous questions you have too. So, any questions? Going once, going twice? Any feedback about the outage? Jen asks, what is Globus? Globus is a third-party service that was developed by some university somewhere. I don't remember which one, but it's a really awesome software that enables computers to communicate with one another across the internet, basically allowing file transfers, really fast file transfers. So we use Globus to facilitate if anyone is hosting images on Symbiota Support Hub servers. We use Globus as that way of you being able to upload the images into our image hosting servers. Any other questions?
I
All
got a
right. Well,
post-recording question. You can stop the
okay.
recording for it.
Sounds good. Well, bye to everyone who was not on or who is on the recording, and then I'll stop recording.